She demanded no contact during our break. A week later, she tagged me in a thirsty post. I didn't respond. I simply changed my profile picture to one of me on a date with a beautiful woman. The no contact rule was suddenly broken by 14 missed calls from her. I, 29M, stared at my phone screen, watching the notification counter climb. 14 missed calls. All from her. The same person who'd insisted on absolute radio silence just 8 days ago. The same person who'd made me promise not to reach out, not to text, not to even look at her social media. The irony wasn't lost on me, and honestly, it felt good. Let me back up. 3 weeks ago, she told me we needed a break. Not a breakup, she was very specific about that. A break. She said she needed space to figure out what she wanted, to work on herself, to gain some clarity about us. We'd been together for almost 3 years, living together for 1, and apparently, that was all too much for her suddenly. When I asked what I'd done wrong, she got defensive. Nothing, she insisted. This wasn't about me. It was about her needing to rediscover who she was outside of our relationship. I didn't fight it. What was I supposed to do? Beg her to stay? Force someone to want me? I packed some essentials and moved back to my buddy's spare room that same night. She seemed almost surprised by how quickly I agreed, like she'd expected more resistance. But I was tired. Tired of walking on eggshells around her moods. Tired of feeling like I was always one mistake away from some dramatic confrontation. The kicker came the next morning when she texted me a list of rules for the break. No contact whatsoever. No texts, no calls, no liking each other's posts. She needed complete separation to really think things through. She even suggested I block her temporarily so I wouldn't be tempted to reach out. I read that message 3 times, feeling something shift inside me. Fine, I told her. Whatever she needed. But I didn't block her. I just muted her notifications and got on with my life. The first few days were rough, I'll admit. I kept reaching for my phone to text her about random things before remembering I couldn't. The apartment felt wrong without her stuff everywhere. My buddy noticed I was struggling and dragged me to the gym every morning before work. Physical exhaustion helped. So did staying busy. I picked up extra shifts, reorganized my entire room, started cooking actual meals instead of eating takeout every night. By day 5, something strange happened. I felt lighter. The constant anxiety about whether she was happy, whether I was doing enough, whether we were okay, it all just evaporated. I realized I'd been carrying that weight for months without even noticing. Maybe this break was exactly what I needed too. On day 7, I matched with someone on a dating app. I downloaded it on day 3 in a moment of spite, but hadn't really used it. She was a corporate lawyer, sharp and funny, with this infectious laugh that came through even in text messages. We started chatting, and within an hour, she asked if I wanted to grab coffee that weekend. No games, no mixed signals, just straightforward interest. It was refreshing. Then came day 8. I woke up to find she'd tagged me in some thirsty post on social media. One of those annoying couple memes about missing someone or whatever. The hypocrisy was staggering. She'd demanded no contact, made me promise to give her space, and now she was publicly tagging me in relationship content? I stared at the notification for a solid minute, anger bubbling up in my chest. I didn't respond, didn't react to the post, didn't message her, didn't acknowledge it at all. Instead, I went about my day like nothing had happened. But the message was clear to me now. This whole break wasn't about her finding herself. It was about keeping me on the back burner while she explored other options. The no-contact rule was designed to prevent me from moving on while she played the field. The thirsty post was her checking to see if I was still waiting around for her. Well, I wasn't. That evening, I went on the coffee date with the lawyer. She was even better in person, confident, articulate, genuinely interested in what I had to say. We ended up talking for 3 hours, long after our coffee cups were empty. She told me about her disaster of a last relationship, and I found myself opening up about mine. She didn't judge, didn't give unsolicited advice, just listened. When we left the cafe, she suggested we grab dinner sometime soon. I said yes immediately. As we were walking to our cars, she stopped and asked if I wanted a picture together. She collected photos with people she had good conversations with. She explained, kind of like a memory journal. It seemed quirky and genuine, so I agreed. We took a few shots, her leaning into me, both of us laughing at something she'd just said. She looked beautiful in the evening light, and honestly, so did I. I was smiling for real, not the forced grin I'd been wearing in photos with my ex for months. That night, back at my buddy's place, I looked through the photos. There was one where we both looked genuinely happy, relaxed, like we'd known each other longer than a few hours. On impulse, I uploaded it as my new profile picture. No caption, no explanation. Just the photo. I fell asleep feeling good about myself for the first time in weeks. I woke up to my phone vibrating nonstop on the nightstand. 14 missed calls. All from her. There were also a string of texts that had come through, each one more frantic than the last. She wanted to know who that was in my picture. She wanted to know what I was doing. She wanted to know why I was already seeing someone when we were supposed to be working on ourselves. She wanted to know if this meant we were over. I read through the messages twice, my initial satisfaction giving way to something colder. She'd set the rules. She demanded space. She'd made me promise not to contact her. And now, because I'd moved on, or appeared to, anyway, suddenly those rules didn't apply to her. The double standard was breathtaking. I didn't respond. I got up, went to the gym with my buddy, came back, showered, and went to work. My phone kept buzzing throughout the day. More calls, more texts. She was spiraling, and part of me, the petty, hurt part, enjoyed watching it happen from a distance. Another part of me just felt tired. This was exactly who she'd always been. Everything on her terms, her timeline, her rules. Until something didn't go her way. By lunchtime, the texts had shifted tone. She was sorry for overreacting. She just missed me. She'd been thinking about us constantly. This break was a mistake. She wanted to talk, to figure things out, to give us another chance. Could we please just meet up and discuss this like adults? I ate my sandwich and ignored my phone. That evening, she showed up at my buddy's place. He answered the door, looking uncomfortable, and called me out. I found her standing on the doorstep, makeup smudged like she'd been crying, looking smaller than I remembered. She asked if we could talk privately. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. She immediately launched into this whole speech about how she'd made a terrible mistake, how she realized during the break that she couldn't live without me, how she wanted to work things out. She was crying again, reaching for my hands, saying everything I might have wanted to hear 3 weeks ago. But then she asked about the girl in my picture, her voice turning sharp. Who was she? How long had I known her? Had I been planning this all along? I told her the truth. I'd met someone new. We'd gone on one date. That was all. But I'd enjoyed myself more in those 3 hours than I had in the last 6 months of our relationship. That seemed to hit her harder than anything else I could have said. She got angry then. She accused me of betraying her, of not respecting the break, of moving on too quickly. I reminded her that she was the one who'd wanted the break, who'd demanded no contact, who'd set all the rules. I'd followed them. She was the one who'd broken her own guidelines by tagging me in that post. She didn't have a response to that, just stared at me with this mixture of hurt and fury. I asked her a question I should have asked weeks ago. Had she met someone during the break? Was that what this was really about? The way her face changed told me everything I needed to know. She stammered something about it not being like that, about it just being coffee with a coworker, nothing serious. But I could see the guilt written all over her expression. So that was it. She'd wanted the break to test the waters with someone else while keeping me as her safety net. When that didn't work out, or when she saw me moving on, suddenly she wanted to come back. The audacity was almost impressive. I told her we were done. Not on a break, not figuring things out. Done. She started crying harder, saying I was being cruel, that I wasn't even willing to fight for us. I told her I'd done nothing but fight for us for months while she checked out emotionally. I was tired of fighting. She needed to leave. She didn't go quietly. She yelled at me right there on the doorstep about what a mistake I was making, how I'd regret this, how the girl in my picture was probably just using me for attention. My buddy opened the door and politely but firmly asked her to go. She finally left, still crying, still angry. I went back inside feeling drained but resolute. My buddy cracked open a beer and handed it to me without a word. We sat in silence for a while before he finally spoke up. He told me he was proud of me for not caving, for knowing my worth. That meant more than he probably realized. Update 1. 2 days after the confrontation, things escalated. She started posting cryptic messages on social media about betrayal and fake people and how she'd given her heart to someone who threw it away. Mutual friends started reaching out, asking what happened, clearly having heard her version of events. I didn't engage with any of it. I'd learned a long time ago that you can't control someone else's narrative, especially when they're determined to be the victim. But then she crossed a line. She messaged the lawyer, the girl from my profile picture. I didn't even know she'd figured out who it was until the lawyer texted me about it. She was incredibly cool about the whole thing, actually. She told me my ex had sent her a long message about how I was a cheater, how I'd betrayed her trust, how I was still in a relationship when we went on our date. The lawyer had responded simply that I'd told her I was single, and if that wasn't true, I needed to clarify. Then she blocked my ex. The lawyer asked me point-blank what the situation was. I explained everything, the break, the rules, the timeline. She listened without interrupting, then told me she appreciated my honesty but needed some time to think about whether she wanted to get involved in this drama. I understood completely. I wouldn't want to jump into this mess either. That conversation stung more than I expected. I'd actually liked her, enjoyed her company, saw potential there. And my ex had potentially ruined it before it even started. The anger I'd been pushing down came roaring back. I did something I'm not entirely proud of, but don't regret. I made a public post, something I never do. I kept it vague, but clear enough. I wrote about respecting boundaries, about honoring your own rules, about how demanding space, and then getting upset when someone actually gives it to you, is manipulation. I didn't name anyone, didn't tag anyone, but everyone who needed to know knew who I was talking about. The response was overwhelming. Friends I hadn't heard from in years reached out with support. Several people commented with their own similar stories. A few mutual friends even apologized for believing her narrative without hearing my side. But the most surprising message came from her best friend. She told me she'd been watching this whole situation unfold and felt I deserved to know the truth. My ex hadn't just had coffee with that coworker. She'd been seeing him for at least a month before she asked for the break, possibly longer. The break was supposed to give her time to figure out which one of us she wanted without technically cheating. When the coworker told her he wasn't interested in anything serious, she panicked and tried to come back to me. Seeing me with someone else ruined her backup plan. I sat with that information for a long time. Part of me wanted to expose her publicly, to screenshot those messages and show everyone who she really was. But ultimately, I decided against it. The best revenge wasn't dragging her through the mud. It was moving on and being genuinely happy without her. Update 2. A week later, the lawyer texted me. She'd done some thinking and wanted to grab that dinner we'd talked about if I was still interested. She was willing to give me a chance despite the drama, but she needed me to promise that things with my ex were truly finished. No lingering feelings, no possibility of reconciliation. I promised her they were. We set a date for that Friday. Meanwhile, my ex was spiraling on social media. More cryptic posts, more vague accusations, more attempts to paint herself as the wronged party. I'd stopped checking her profiles, but friends kept me updated anyway. Apparently, she'd tried to reconcile with the coworker and got rejected again. She'd also started dating someone new almost immediately, posting photos with him within days, clearly trying to make me jealous. It didn't work. I felt nothing looking at those pictures except relief that I'd dodged a bullet. The dinner with the lawyer went incredibly well. We talked for hours again, this time about lighter topics, favorite movies, terrible childhood photos, places we wanted to travel. She was easy to be around, uncomplicated in the best way. When she dropped me off at my buddy's place, she kissed me goodnight. Nothing heavy, just a soft press of lips that made my stomach flip. I hadn't felt that kind of genuine attraction in longer than I cared to admit. Things progressed naturally from there. We started seeing each other regularly, building something real without any games or drama. She met my friends and fit in seamlessly. My buddy approved, which mattered more than I'd expected. For the first time in years, I felt like I was in a relationship with someone who actually wanted to be there, who chose me every day without reservation. About 3 weeks into dating the lawyer, I got a final message from my ex. It was long and rambling, clearly written late at night. She apologized for everything, admitted she'd handled the break poorly, confessed about the coworker. She said she'd been selfish and scared and had made terrible choices. She hoped I was happy and that maybe someday we could be friends. I appreciated the honesty, even if it came too late to change anything. I sent back a brief response. I thanked her for the apology, told her I forgave her, and wished her well. Then I blocked her on everything. Not out of anger, but because I needed to close that chapter completely. There was no reason to keep that door even slightly open. Update 3. It's been 3 months now since the whole mess began. I moved out of my buddy's place and into my own apartment downtown. The lawyer. I should probably give her a letter since I'm keeping everyone anonymous. Let's call her has a key. We're not living together or anything that's serious yet, but she stays over most weekends. It's comfortable, easy, everything my last relationship wasn't. I ran into my ex once, at a mutual friend's birthday party. It was awkward for about 30 seconds until I came over and casually put her arm around my waist. My ex looked between us, said a polite hello, and moved to the other side of the room. That was it. No drama, no scene, no desperate attempts to talk privately. Just the acknowledgement that we were both moving forward with our lives. Later, another mutual friend told me my ex had asked about me, specifically about whether I seemed happy with A. When the friend said yes, my ex had just nodded and said she was glad that I deserved someone who appreciated me. Maybe she'd actually grown from all this. I hoped so genuinely. Everyone deserves that chance. Looking back, that profile picture change was the catalyst for everything. One small act of moving on that forced her to confront what she'd thrown away. But it was also the catalyst for me to confront what I'd been settling for. I'd spent so long trying to make someone happy who didn't know what she wanted, including whether she wanted me. The break was the best thing she could have given me, even if her motivations were selfish. They asked me once if I'd ever consider going back if my ex wanted to try again. I didn't even have to think about it. That version of me who would have jumped at the chance died the moment I saw 14 missed calls from someone who demanded silence. The me that exists now knows better, knows what I deserve, knows that real love doesn't require breaks or backup plans or dramatic games. Sometimes the best revenge isn't grand or vindictive. Sometimes it's just living well, choosing better, and refusing to play by someone else's manipulative rules. Sometimes it's changing a profile picture and watching someone else's carefully constructed plan crumble while you build something genuine with someone new. My phone hasn't buzzed with missed calls from her in months. These days, the only notifications I care about are the ones from A, asking what I want for dinner or sending me funny memes in the middle of her workday. That's what a relationship should feel like. Easy, happy, chosen. I'm grateful for the break. Not because it brought me and my ex back together. It didn't. But because it broke me free from a relationship I'd outgrown without realizing it. That profile picture didn't just change my social media. It changed my entire trajectory. And I wouldn't go back for anything.